Hey everyone, you're here with Josh Thomson, former Strikeforce Lightweight World Champion, and my co-host Sam Diggity. Go to iTunes for the full podcast. Also hit that subscribe button to be notified for new content. Dana did something. He said something. I don't know if it was on Twitter or what it was. He says, anybody who claims to be a friend of Chuck Liddell and was anywhere near this fight is full of shit. They're not his friend. They're not a friend of Chuck Liddell. To let him go in and fight this fight is terrible. I want to remind people that the UFC had a contract with Chuck Liddell. They needed to release him for him to be allowed to do this fight. So when he says anybody that was near this fight and allowed this fight to happen is terrible. Well, guess what? You're the reason why this fight happened, because they could have actually kept him under contract and not let him fight. So you knew when you signed off that he was going to go and fight. You basically wrote off and just said, like, yeah, we're going to release you. We're going to let you go. The talk and conversation was already that you knew that he was going to go and fight in Golden Boy. So before he goes out and criticizes people, he had the ability to stop that fight from ever happening, and he didn't do it. So
yeah, I could play devil's advocate.
No, go ahead, play devil's advocate. I'm only saying this because, dude, I've been friends with him with Chuck Liddell for a long time. And look, obviously, I went to the fight. I was at the fight. But I think that's kind of not just a low blow to people that, look, people want to be there to support him. And I want to be there to support if anyone wants to step in the cage and fight that I'm friends with, and anything I can do to help, I want to be there for them. You know, I've got young kids that are, in their early 20s asking me to coach them, corner them, do all these things. And I'm like, look, and they're like, look, I won't fight until you say I'm ready. I'm like, dude, you're not anywhere near being ready. And that's, you're letting these people, you're telling them that they're not ready to fight. But look, if these people are still going to fight, I still go there to support them. I still go there to do whatever it is I could potentially do to help them or be there for them or to make them feel like they can get this done.
But those are younger guys who still have to go through that learning experience, learn from losses. Mm-hmm. Like Chuck's not at a point in his life where he's going to learn anything from this loss. Mm-hmm. This wasn't about learning. It's later in his career. And I think you got to let Chuck fight. He's a grown man. He can take care of himself. But I see what Dana is kind of saying. Sure, he let him out of the contract because they didn't want him to fight on the UFC banner because he didn't want anything to do with that. But perhaps UFC could have generated money. I'd like to think it would have been a pretty popular fight if UFC would have done it. But they don't want to go that route because maybe he was actually concerned for him. Maybe he knows, like, hey, man, he was taking some knockouts later in his career. You're getting, and on top of now you're older. And then when you look at some of those Instagram videos of Chuck hitting pads, and he was, had some cobwebs on there. It was pretty slow and he wasn't wooing anybody with how he looked hitting the bag or hitting pads. But then Chuck said that he was, just warming up and he got better. But then when you saw him fight out, he still looked pretty, it didn't look like he was snapping any punches, still looked slower. So I see what Dana's saying, like, okay, knocking everybody for putting this together because they thought they can make some money off of it, right? So let's be real. Like, De La Hoya put this together to try to make some money off of it, which Dana could have done, but he did not. So I think in that sense, I see what Dana's saying. But I think it's okay for Chuck to fight. He's a grown-ass man. If he wants to fight, I mean, shit, I wanted to see him fight, but I see what Dana's kind of saying.
But Dana could have stopped him from fighting, and there's nothing in there that said that
But I think it's good that he didn't stop him, because I think it's, how do you stop somebody from wanting to go do what they want to do? So I could see Dana saying, "Hey, I don't think you should, but you're a grown man. If you want to, man, I'm not gonna prevent you from making money if you can make some money." But I could see what Dana's saying, kind of like, you're going to have people around you wanting to do that fight because they're trying to make money off of you.
No, okay, I understand what you mean by the, like, Golden Boy maybe. Like, I could see him saying that he's offended by the fact that, like, Golden Boy would put this fight on, knowing that maybe Chuck shouldn't be fighting. Look, but as far as, like, oh, the trainer shouldn't have trained him, and, like, there should have been, I think, more time or effort maybe put into the whole thing if he was going to actually continue to fight. But that's not my point. My point was from the beginning, though, if you're going to criticize or go publicly and criticize people for being there or supporting their friend, maybe you should have, I guess for me, like, you had an opportunity, a chance to stop the whole thing from happening. And you can't, like, criticize other people and then turn around and tell somebody that, like, hey, you should have done this, or you shouldn't be around that person, or you shouldn't support what they're doing, but then you're the reason why, or not the reason why, but you could have stopped the whole thing yourself. You can't do the two things together.
But then you might have knocked Dana for saying, oh, you're preventing him from making money. Like, is that more fucked up to not let him fight just because Dana doesn't think he should?
I agree with what I understand what you're saying, but I think sometimes you should maybe just go quietly into the night. You shouldn't say, like, you're criticizing everyone for supporting their friend and being there for their friends and supporting them when, in fact, it was you that told him that you were going to pay him $300,000 a year to be part of the UFC for life. You didn't do that. Okay. And then now you're, basically, like, he said he was able to fight. He was able to go ahead and fight. You guys decided not to honor the contract. You guys could have potentially paid him out on the rest of his contract. Then he wouldn't have fought. There's a lot of little backdoor dealings that could have been done to make sure that this fight didn't happen. And they could have locked him up with their contract. Look, they didn't have to fight him. They could have just locked him up with the contract and said, like, look, to keep him from fight. Look, 48 years old, he shouldn't have been fighting. I mean, we see now at the end of the results, a lot easier all in hindsight to say, like, yeah. But if he would have went out there and knocked out Tito, then everyone would be like, oh, shit, he still has it.
Yeah.
But he didn't. So then now that we're talking about it, but my thing is that you shouldn't be – I feel like he shouldn't be like you had the ability. I think Dana White I know he had the ability to make sure that this fight, because there was a conversation between him and Chuck, and the conversation was like, I'm going to go ahead and go fight for Golden Boy. I need to be released from my contract, and it was released. So they stopped. They could have stopped the fight from happening.
Yeah, but I'm not going to knock him for that. But I guess when I heard about that comment, I already envisioned, for whatever reason, I just assumed he was talking about the promotion, as opposed to guys that were helping him train in the gym. But maybe he was just talking about everybody blanket statement about anybody involved in this. When he helped him.
It was anybody. Yeah,
I guess in my mind I was just thinking Golden Boy.
When I read the article, it said like his trainers, his coaches, his manager, any friends. It basically said right there though too. It said if you say you're his friend and you went to this fight, then you're not really his friend.
But okay, but that raises the question, right? So, Chuck was saying that he got the cobwebs out in training, that he was a little slow at first. But people who trained with him, did they feel that he could fight Tito? Did they feel confident that when he took this fight, by the end of his training camp, they felt like he was looking sharp enough to take this fight?
I don't know.
I guess that's the question.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't have a chance to talk with Antonio McKee. I talked to him a couple of weeks, I would say, when I was at Mohegan Sun. So when was that? I want to say that was like October or something, I think. Anyways, when I was at Mohegan Sun for Bellator's there, they were there, and he said that he had gotten a lot better. He's a lot faster. He was able to, they were able to start sparring and doing some more stuff. So I took that as that he got a lot better from the time that he came in to the time he was. But you never know, man. I mean, like,
but it's still,
I didn't see what I wanted to see when I saw him fight. And I mean, I don't think he'll ever fight again.
Yeah, I don't think so. But
I don't think the commission's ever going to allow it. His commission's already said I think he's suspended indefinitely.
Yeah. But I could see it's tough to tell somebody they can't do it. If they get cleared by the commission, and if Chuck's hell-bent on doing it, it's tough to tell him, I don't want to take part in this. I don't want to help you.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like tough. Here's the thing: is I feel like this was a way for Dana to like wash his hands of saying like I had no part in this, and anyone who did is the devil. But in fact, you actually did have part in it, and you could have actually prevented it. You're trying to like basically make yourself look better in the spotlight of it all when you could have actually have stopped it from ever happening. Yeah. And that was more of my take on the whole deal is don't sit there and pat yourself on the back, or try to condemn other people for doing what they did to support their friend who is suggesting that none of us are our friends because we actually supported him and went there and been there and things like that. But when in fact you're trying to tell people that you had no hand in it when you did.
When if you really didn't want the fight to happen,
yes,
you really could have prevented it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, look, you can't stop a grown man from doing what he wants to do. And the other thing too is you can't stop him from making money either. I feel like, but let's not forget though, when you want something bad enough, Dana White, you'll go ahead and tug on it like you did with Randy Couture when he was supposed to fight Fedor in Affliction. Like you said, no, fuck no, we'll sue you, we'll do this, we'll do that. Look, dude, when you want to do something, you do it. When you don't want someone to fight, you'll make sure that they don't fight. You were stopping Randy. What stopped you then from stopping Randy from making more money over in Affliction fighting Fedor? It was just that it was a business thing, right? Oh, you didn't want to do it. Well, now you let this one go. So you can't say that you didn't You didn't have any part in this. You did. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that exclusive content of Sammy and the Punk. Also, hit these videos for more exclusive content and hit the subscribe button on the bottom corner.